give you some breathing space with the first 5 chapters. Now, what I am picking up today is from the 7th chapter. Good evening, everyone who has joined me now. Thanks a lot for joining, and good evening to all of you. I can see you on the chat box, so thank you for being there. So what we will do today is we will actually take up the topic on agriculture. So that will be chapter 7. Chapter 6 I am deliberately not covering at the moment. I will go back to it in the end. From the perspective of economics, chapter 7, 8 and 9 are comparatively more important than chapter 6 and 10. So I thought that I will cover first chapter 7, 8 and 9 with you, and then maybe we can go back to chapter 8, 6 and 10. So chapter 7, agriculture, is what we will get into, and as usual we will try spending the next 1 hour, 15, 20 minutes in covering as much as possible on the chapter from both prelims and mains point of view. The video is live, Rajan. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Chapter 6, I hope you have heard me now that I will be doing it with you later, because environment is not something that is that important from economics point of view, but I will be doing it with you. So chapter 6 and chapter 10, these two we will do later. 7, 8 and 9 I am covering first, and then I will go back and do 6 and 10. I will take a class today, Tuesday, then I will meet you on Friday, and then in the coming week on Tuesday and Wednesday to finish all discussions on economic survey. That is in my mind, and I'll get it done. So 4 classes I will take to finish the rest of the chapters on economic survey. We begin today, and hopefully by next Wednesday we will be done with all the discussions, and you can then practice your questions, etc. Now in agriculture, the first thing you need to keep in mind is the growth trend that they mention, and in prelims point of view they can ask you this, that 2019-20 it is 4.6%. That is the growth trend that they give us, that 4.3%, and then 2020-21, 2020-21, it comes down to 3.6%, and 2021-22, it again goes up to 3.9%. Now please keep this in mind. The prelims exam will not ask you exact number, but they can ask you that agriculture has been growing continuously, agricultural growth rate has been falling continuously, or agricultural growth rate has come down and then increased in the last 3 years. So last 3-4 years of data you should keep in mind, and agricultural growth rate has been above 3.5% continuously in the last 3 years. Then they give you one more important data from prelims point of view. Keep it in mind, that is share of agriculture in gross value added. That in total gross value added, what is the share of agriculture? Now in that case they have said that in 2020-21 it had become 20.2%, and it has again come down to 18.8% in 2021-22. These two numbers are important. Please keep it in mind. In 2019-14 it was 18.4%. So share of agriculture in total gross value added has moved around 18% in India. In 2021 it increased because services and industries contracted very badly while agriculture kept growing. अगर तुम देखो तो एग्रीकल्चर का ग्रोथ रेट 3.6% था 2021 में, जबकि इंडस्ट्री और सर्विसेज नेगेटिव में थे, कोलैप्स कर रहे थे, इसीलिए एग्रीकल्चर का शेयर बढ़ गया. If you see, agricultural growth rate was at 3.6% in 2021, while industry and services were going down, they were in negative zone, and that is why the share of agriculture increased. So these are two important information that you should keep in mind. Then, there is a trend that they have given you. That trend is with respect to, the values related to, that trend that we see is with respect to the values related to investment in agriculture. And what they do is they don't count public investment in road, in storage, etc. They only count public investment for irrigation, public investment for crop protection, and so on. So again, remember, investment in agriculture That is another important trend to keep in mind. And this is something you can keep in mind from mains point of view also, has kept between 18% of agricultural gross value added. In 2011-12, it was 18.9% of gross value added in agriculture, but this has come down, and by 2021-22, we see that the number 1920, sorry, the number has come down to 15.9%. 2019-20, the number has come down to 15.9%. So this is what happens when you talk about agricultural investment, and this is important because whenever agricultural investment goes down in India, production in agriculture also takes a beating. So this is a policy suggestion we need to keep in mind, that we need to make sure that the production in agriculture will be sustainable and highly on growth path only when agricultural investment is also promoted. We also see that public investment in agriculture is only 20% of total investment, while 80% is by private sector. The public investment in agriculture, सरकार का जो निवेश है कृषि में वो 20% है, और 80% निवेश कृषि का वो निजी स्तर पे ही हो रहा है. तो ये अगेन प्रीलिम्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से आपके लिए एक इंपॉर्टेंट बात है, दैट गवर्नमेंट एक्सपेंडिचर इन एग्रीकल्चर investment has not picked up much, and that is another factor that we need to work upon to make sure that we have higher amount of production capacity in agriculture. Then remember, they give us a talk on edible oil. That is from where few things are important. I'm picking that up. They talk about agricultural productivity. Only one thing is important, that is estimated food grain production. This is again from prelims point of view, that estimated food grain production in 2021-22 is around 308 metric tons, which is the highest ever in India, estimated food grain production. So they say that it will be 308 million tons, which is the highest ever in India. 308 million tons, and that is the highest ever in India, showing high surplus of food availability in India. They also say that in 2021, the estimation is around 312 million tons. So they say that this shows India has some food security, because when it comes to production of food grains, we don't see much of a problem in that. When it comes to production of food grains, we don't see much of a problem in that. So that is the aspect that they talk about. Now, they also say that edible oil has been one of the challenges for India, but the oilseed production has increased by 43%. Again, remember, this number is important with respect to edible oil. Oilseed, this is one information you should keep in mind. Oilseed production increased by 43% between 2015 and 2021. But remember, still it is not sufficient to meet all the needs of India. If you look at oilseeds production, we were at around 32 million tons in 27 million tons in 2014. 27 million tons in 2000 lakh tons, sorry, in 2014, and from 27 million tons to 36 million tons by 2021. From 27 million tons to 36 million tons by 2021. But we still need to do more, because the demand for vegetable oils in India is very high, and oilseed requirement in India is in the zone of 43 to 45 million tons. And we will feel the pinch very soon, because the Russia-Ukraine war means that sunflower oil will be in shortage. We are negotiating the purchase from Latin American countries like Brazil, etc. But still we will be running short of edible oil at times. So this is something we need to work upon, because our import bill is heavily increasing because of this oilseed product requirement. Now, government has introduced some missions that the economic survey talks about, and that is again something that you should keep in mind both from prelims and mains point of view. In prelims, they can ask you about the missions. In mains, they can ask you a particular question talking about relevance of oil seeds and steps taken by the government to promote oil seeds production in India. And you can get very important 100-150 words from Economic Survey, page 240 on that. So they say that due to high import of edible oil, increase in oil production has been a priority. So one thing that the government has started is National Food Security Mission on oil seeds. Now this was started from 2000, earlier itself, from 2018-19 itself, to promote oil seed production. So 2018-19, government started National Food Security Mission on oil seeds. The objective was to reduce import of oil seeds. To reduce import of oil seeds, because India has huge import of oil seeds, which puts a lot of pressure on our foreign exchange reserves. चूंकि हमें बहुत सारा निर्यात करना पड़ता है oil seed को, तो वो हमारे foreign exchange reserve पे बहुत ज़्यादा pressure डालता है. तो सरकार ने एक ये शुरुआत की 2018-19 से, और उन्होंने कहा कि ये सारे districts में होगा भारत के. So under this, so spread over this National Food Security Mission, National Food Security Mission in oil seeds is spread over all districts of India, spread over all districts of India. That is one thing that has been done, that it has been spread over all districts of India, and it covers the idea that government will provide interventions such as production of certified seed and distribution of certified seeds and seed mini kits to the farmers. So involves production of certified mini seeds and distribution of mini seed kits among farmers. So the idea is to make them as efficient as possible. Production of certified mini seeds and distribution of certified mini seeds among farmers. So I repeat again, the idea is to make them as efficient as possible so that the high yielding quality seeds can be produced more. When we say certified mini seeds, it is nothing but high yielding variety of seed. The certified mini seed is nothing but the high yielding variety of seed. The certified mini seed is nothing but the high yielding variety of seed. So that is one way in which they are trying to promote oil seeds. Another thing that the government has initiated, and you should have an idea on it because it was started from August 2021, is the National Mission on Palm Oil, that is National Mission on Edible Oils through oil palm. So this is, if we call this as one that has been started for oil seed increase, then remember there is National Mission on Edible Oil in oil palm. National Mission in Edible Oil concentrated on palm oil production actually. So oil palm, National Mission on Edible Oil concentrated on oil palm, that has been introduced by the government, and the idea is to augment the availability of oil seeds in the country, because palm oil has a huge benefit that it can produce 10 to 46 times more oil than other oil seeds. Palm oil is targeted because it can produce 10 to 46 times, that is what Economic Survey says, more oil than other oil seeds. This is the reason they are promoting palm oil production. And India has good enough potential to produce palm oil, including crude palm oil. Produce palm oil, including crude palm oil, which they call CPO. So National Mission on Edible Oil, producing crude palm oil, including CPO. Now, they say that they will work on this by increasing the area under, by encouraging people to go for this palm oil production, and the major initiative will be to encourage people to increase cultivation of palm oil by bringing more area under its cultivation. So the idea is incentivize the farmers through technical and marketing support to bring more area under oilseeds. Incentivize the farmers through technical and marketing support to bring more area under oilseeds production. Incentivize the farmers through technical and marketing support to bring more area under palm oil seed. In fact, even now, there is very less area in India under palm oil production. We are only producing 2.8 lakh ton of palm oil, while we are purchasing almost 88 lakh ton of palm oil. आप सोच के देखो, हम अपने देश में मुश्किल से 3 लाख टन प्रोड्यूस करते हैं और उसके अलावा 88 लाख टन खरीद कर लाते हैं. तो ये हम अपने देश में अगर प्रोड्यूस करें तो हमारा इंपोर्ट बिल बचेगा, हमारे यहाँ नौकरी बढ़ेगी, हमारी व्यवस्था बेहतर होगी. सो द टारगेट शुड बी टू प्रोड्यूस palm oil in India, and the target is to bring 6.5 lakh hectares of palm oil or area under palm oil cultivation by 2025-26 and increase it to 10 lakh hectares by the end of the current decade, that is by 29-30. Also, the idea is that by 2029-30, India should produce around 28 lakh tons of palm oil in totality. That by 2029-30, the target is that we should be producing 28 lakh tons of palm oil. And another step that Economic Survey says has been taken to promote oilseed production in India is incentives through increased minimum support price. And we will go into this in a little while. But this is incentives through increased minimum support price by government. That government has tried incentivizing more oilseed production by increasing the minimum support price in oilseeds. In fact, in most of the oilseeds, minimum support price has increased at a much faster rate compared to what it is for wheat or rice. So paddy, wheat and sugarcane, these three have been the dominant part in case of government support. Now the government is asking the farmers to diversify, and one way is to offer them the incentive for increased minimum support price by the government. So this is the basic idea that we bring forth. So these are the 3 steps. Mains के point of view से भी याद रखना, ये golden words हैं. ये 80-70 वर्ड जरूर होने चाहिए तुम्हारे कंटेंट में. उसके बाद इंट्रोडक्शन कंक्लूजन लिख दो तो 150 वर्ड के आंसर तुम्हारा बढ़िया बन जाएगा अगर क्वेश्चन सिर्फ ऑयल सीड पर आ गया तो. और आजकल जो मैंने ट्रेंड देखा है वो किसी एक चीज को पकड़ते हैं और उस पर सवाल पूछते हैं. सो फ्रॉम मेंस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, in case they catch hold of one thing and ask you on oil seeds alone, these are the steps you talk about. This will be your core 70-80 words, and then you can build the rest of the answer around it. So that is the way you should proceed on any discussion related to oil seeds. Then another discussion that Economic Survey does is on sugarcane, sugar sector in general. That is the other discussion they do with respect to sugar sector in India. And they say that the significance is that the sugar sector is the second largest employer after cotton. Second largest employer after cotton. तो cotton sector के बाद अगर कोई agro commodity industry employment देती है तो sugar industry देती है. Second, directly benefits up to 8 crore farming population. 5 crore farming population. That is another important thing that is there, that up to 5 crore farming population are directly benefited by the sugar sector that we have. Also, we have become a sugar surplus nation. We are the second largest producer of sugar in the world and the largest consumer of sugar in the world. That is what Economic Survey says. And export of sugar has increased, which earns us foreign exchange. So that is the reason again government has been focusing on increasing sugarcane production but increasing it in an environmentally sustainable manner. That is what you have to keep in mind. Increasing sugarcane production, but increasing it in an environmentally sustainable manner. Good evening. Thank you. Nice to see you all too. Less investment in agriculture, Vikash, because of unfortunately less part of contribution done for agriculture, especially by from the public investment point of view. So the contribution in agriculture from public investment point of view has been reduced, and that is one reason why we have less investment in agriculture. Now, when you look at the sugar sector, in sugar sector there are two supports. There is one fair and remuneration price promised by the central government, and sometimes the state governments add their state advised price. This is by the state government above the fair and remuneration price. This FRP plus SAP is something that the government gives to the sugar mill owners, and the sugar mill owners have to pass it on to the sugarcane producers. This FRP plus SAP is what government gives to sugar mill owners, and sugar mill owners have to pass it to the sugarcane growers. In the last few years, the dues have been reduced, but still there are dues above 10,000 crore where mill owners have not made the payments to the sugarcane growers. But in the last 7 years, the economic survey says that this fair and remunerative price has gone up. This fair and remunerative price has gone up from 145, per quintal, rupees per quintal in 2011-12 to 290 rupees per quintal by 2021-22. So the fair and remunerative price has doubled in the last 10 years. Again, from prelims point of view, that is important to keep in mind. Two things: the fair and remunerative price that is announced by the government has continuously increased. There are two features in it that I need you to keep in mind. It has continuously increased and doubled in the last 10 years. Continuously increased and doubled in the last 10 years. Prelims के point of view से ये दोनों ही बातें आपको दिमाग में रखनी है. Continuously increased and doubled in the last 10 years from 145 rupees per quintal to 290 rupees per quintal. So fair and remunerative price, they have talked about it. And they say that sugar exports have also continuously increased. In fact, there is one more thing which I will come to in a while. The government has now also allowed for up to 20% of ethanol blending in petroleum, EBP as we call it. So that is another way in which sugar mill owners can earn money by blending the ethanol that they can produce from the molasses with the petroleum that government has now allowed. Right now in India we are at 8.3% blending part. Government expects it to be 10% by 2021-22. That is now the latest data. When they come, we will expect it to be that 10% blending has been achieved. And by 2025-26, the target is to reach 20% ethanol blending of petroleum, which can be an alternative source of income for the sugar mills. And as it becomes an alternative source of income for sugar mills, it will give better remuneration to sugarcane farmers also. In the process, the government is also promoting drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, to make sure that even though sugarcane is a water intensive crop, the water use is done efficiently so that we don't end up wasting water and therefore compromising on our sustainable development requirements. So this is all that has to be kept in mind with respect to sugar production in India that economic survey talks about. Then, they make a very good clarification, because there was a lot of confusion regarding this on minimum support price. Actually, there was no confusion, but sometimes you know how our system is, so confusions do get created. Remember, when it is minimum support price, it is the minimum support price is something that is declared by the government on the advice of Commission for Agricultural Cost and Prices. So the government fixes the MSP of 22 mandated agricultural crops on the basis of recommendation of Commission of Agricultural Commodity Prices. So MSP fixed by the government. If prelims they ask you who fixes the MSP, it is fixed by the government, and the government fixes this MSP on 22 mandated agricultural crops. 22 mandated agricultural crops. Please keep this in mind very carefully. 14 crops are kharif crops, 6 crops are rabi crops, and 2 crops are commercial crops. 14 crops are kharif crops, 6 crops are rabi crops, and 2 crops are commercial crops, that is jute and copra. The commercial crops, since there are 2, you never know, they can ask you a name. So jute and copra. Apart from this, please understand this, apart from this, MSP is also declared for 2 more crops. Apart from this, MSP is also declared on 2 more crops, that is Toria, T-O-R-I-A, and dehusked coconut. So MSP also for Toria and dehusked coconut. So it is given for these also, that economic survey tells us, but it is not declared separately for Toria and dehusked coconut. The MSP for Toria is based on the MSP for rapeseed and mustard. The MSP for Toria is based on the MSP for rapeseed and mustard, and MSP for dehusked coconut is based on copra MSP. For dehusked coconut, it is based on copra. So remember, MSP is given on 24 crops but declared on 22 crops. MSP is given on 24 crops but declared on 24 crops. And apart from this MSP, a fair and remunerative price is given on sugarcane. So government support exists for 25 crops. Government declares the price for 23 crops including sugarcane, and MSP, the price is declared for 22 crops. MSP is given for 24 crops, but for Toria and dehusked coconut, there is no separate MSP which is declared. In that, their cases, rapeseed and mustard and copra MSP is taken as the reference point. Please remember, in your prelims, if they ask you, for how many crops is MSP declared? 22. For how many crops is government support price declared? 23. Why? Because FRP is also a type of support price. For how many crops is MSP given? 24. For how many crops is government support price given? 25. So it's clear, I hope, that this is how you have to choose your options if they ask you the question in the prelims exam. 22 crops mandated for declaration of MSP, 24 crops on which MSP is given, and sugarcane gets added as an FRP, which is also under government mandated support price. This is the most important thing from this page that you must know in this whole exercise. Most important thing, if you ask me, which you must know in this whole exercise. So that is one thing from prelims point of view, very important. You must have an idea. And then they also tell us that there is a predetermined principle for fixing MSP. Now this paragraph again is very important, 7.19. That's very important because they tell you the principles on which MSP is fixed. See, we know the rule of MSP. What is the rule of MSP? We have already discussed that the rule of MSP is A2 plus FL plus 50% of A2 plus FL. कि जो भी A2 plus FL का खर्चा आया उसके 1.5 times MSP declare होना चाहिए. ये formula तो हम use करते ही हैं. So we know that the formula is A2 plus FL plus 50% of A2 plus FL. So no two views on that. But the economic survey highlights that there are basic principles of fixing MSP. The economic survey highlights that there are basic principles of fixing MSP. Basic principles. And I suspect that from our exams point of view, they can always put us on this. Basic principles of fixing MSP. There are 3-4 basic principles. One, of course, is charging A2 plus FL into 1.5. ये तो एक basic principle है ही कि इसके हिसाब से ये तो formula है जो MSP का होना चाहिए. Then they say that it also includes, the cost of production overall demand supply conditions, that is the next thing that they highlight. So this covers for cost of production, but it also highlights overall demand supply position, that what is the demand for the crop and what is the supply of this crop in the market. So highlights overall demand supply position. It also highlights, or it is also based on how the government looks at intercrop price parity and domestic and international prices. So it is based on domestic and international prices, and also to assure that farmers of a particular crop are not discriminated against. So intercrop price parity, जो अलग अलग क्रॉप है उनके कल्टीवेशन से फार्मर का नुकसान नहीं हो जाना चाहिए. Farmer should feel incentivized to produce any given crop. So intercrop price parity, domestic and international prices, whatever are prevailing, overall demand supply position, and then cost of production, which is taken as A2 plus FL into 1.5 times. So these are all things that are taken. It also says that government will fix MSP in a manner that there is crop diversification, there is rational utilization of land, water and other natural resources, so that farmers don't overutilize one type of resource at the cost of another. So these are all important things, these are all important things that we need to keep in mind. These are all important things that we need to keep in mind. So always make sure that you remember these points, because this is something that they can always ask you one way or the other. Cotton is in MSP. Yes, Kamalakant, you asked me, is cotton is also under MSP? Yes, cotton is under MSP. Now see, so this is another aspect that we see of it. This is another aspect that we see of it with respect to basic principles of fixing MSP. Now see, when we take it further, then another important part that they bring about is with respect to agricultural marketing. Another important part that they bring about, there are talks on crop diversification and agricultural irrigation and credit, but there is nothing much that you can use in your exam in that, so you can easily skip those portions. Page 243 to 245 can be easily skipped, 246 rather. Page 247 becomes important. This is with respect to agricultural marketing. There are again some important information that they have given us in the survey in agricultural marketing. Again some basic information that they highlight for us. So they say that first of all, there are 6,946 APMC market in India which are responsible for wholesale marketing. 6,946 APMC markets which are responsible for wholesale marketing. That is one thing that they tell us about. That is important because again approximately 7,000 is what you have to keep in mind. And they say that this is set up under APMC Act, that is Agricultural Produce and Marketing Committee Act. This is under Agricultural Produce and Marketing, State Agricultural Produce of course, and Marketing Committee Act. I insist on this for a simple reason. Agricultural laws have been heavily in news of late, and you never know, sometimes they can ask you as trivial a question as what is the full form of APMC and what is the act under which it has been established. Sometimes they can ask you about which is the marketing act with respect to agricultural marketing in India. So for that purpose, you should keep it in mind that this is something that has to be there. Now, the APMC markets have been allowed, this is the important thing I needed you to know, allowed from the budget of 21-22 under Agricultural Investment Fund or Agricultural Infrastructure Development Fund. So since it is now allowed in agricultural investment fund, again they give you information which is important. They tell us that this implies, since it is allowed in agricultural investment fund, they tell us that this implies that now they will get collateral free loan for any project development of APMC up to rupees 2 crore. They will also get interest subvention up to 3%, and they will get these concessional loans for a period of up to 7 years. Now once they qualify as a part of agricultural investment fund, all these benefits naturally come to them. Once they qualify as agricultural investment fund, all these benefits naturally come to them. So what are these benefits that are coming to them? Their benefits are that they are now allowed collateral free loan up to rupees 2 crore. Collateral free loans up to rupees 2 crore. That is one thing that they are allowed. Another is interest subvention at 3%, and another is concessional loan up to 7 years. So all this is something that has been allowed under this APMC infrastructure investment scheme for the government. They also say that this can be for various infrastructure type, like cold storage, like developing supply chain connectivity, like for example packaging and compost unit, and grading and sorting, for everything. So government says that it is not only marketing for which you will get it for all support like storage facility, cold storage development, grading and sorting, and dehusking, all facilities related to marketing, they will get it. याद क्या रखना है prelims के point of view से, सिर्फ marketing के लिए नहीं, marketing से connected जितने भी प्रयोजन हैं, सब के लिए APMC में इस तरह के लोन मिल सकते हैं अब सरकार के हिसाब से. So it will include not only marketing of agricultural crops, it will also consist of different infrastructure types like cold storage, sorting, grading, assaying units, and so on, silos and so on. Concessional loan is loan with lesser interest rate, Naveen. MSP advisory body is CSCP. I hope it is visible to you now. Committee on Agricultural Cost and Pricing. So this is the idea that we have to keep in mind. Also, the government of India has done two more things to promote agricultural marketing. अगर सवाल मेंस में सिर्फ agricultural marketing का आता है, तो एक point तुम्हारा ये बन गया. In the mains exam, if they ask you a question only on agricultural marketing, one point is this, which is based on how we have given now the credentials to APMC to take loans under the Agricultural Infrastructure Fund. Another part that we can bring is development of ENAM. That is the second part that you can bring to promotion of electronic national agricultural market. If you recall, while discussing budget with you, we had discussed this, and it says that it is already present in 1,000 APMC markets, and the target is to make it 2,000 by the end of the current financial year. Already out of 6,900 APMC market, 1,000 have ENAM facilities, and the target is to make it 2,000 by the end of the financial year. And government is providing free software assistance up to rupees 75 lakh, per APMC मंडी. तो APMC मंडी जो भी है 75 लाख रुपए तक का सपोर्ट सरकार दे रही है कि सॉफ्टवेयर असिस्टेंस उन्हें मिल सके. एंड hardware assistance is also given by the government for creating quality infrastructure to support ENAM. Hardware assistance is also given by the government to support quality infrastructure in ENAM. And these 1,000 APMC markets are spread over 18 states and 3 union territories. These 1,000 APMC markets are spread over 18 states and 3 union territories. So kindly keep that also in your mind. Again, from prelims point of view, since we don't know what they will push us on, I'm just telling you all these. Also, the government of India has launched a central sector scheme for formation of 10,000 FPOs by the year 2027-28, farmer producer organization. That's another important thing that you can quote in your answer in the mains exam, and from prelims point of view also you can keep it in mind that 10,000 FPOs, farmer producer organization, are targeted, formation of that targeted under a centrally sponsored scheme by the government. That government will support creation of these farmer producer organization. In case it comes to your mind, what are these farmer producer organization? They are nothing but incorporated bodies, registered bodies, which are then required, or which are then playing a role of combining the small farmers and the marginal farmers, bringing them together. तो किसान के बार्गेन करने की क्षमता को बढ़ाते हैं, तो इससे किसान ज़्यादा सेफ होगा अगर उसे बड़े खरीदारों से भी बार्गेनिंग करनी पड़ती है, किसान को मुआवजा बेहतर मिलेगा अपने फसल का। तो ये पर्पस होता है फार्मर प्रोड्यूसर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का, कि छोटे किसान, छोटे सेलर्स इकट्ठा हो जाए और प्रोड्यूस करे, और ये रजिस्टर्ड रहे एज अ कंपनी, और इसको सरकार से मदद मिलती रहेगी। सो दे विल बी रजिस्टर्ड एज अ कंपनी, दे कम टुगेदर, दे कीप प्रोड्यूसिंग, एंड दैट इज 10,000 FPO targeted under the centrally sponsored scheme. That is what has been done. And within that, the government says that these FPOs will be based on a cluster area approach and specialized commodity based approach. So there will be two approaches regarding them. One will be a cluster area approach, that is group of farming communities brought together, group production. That is the cluster area approach. Group production means that farmers will be brought together, they will be developing a product in a cluster, and specialized commodity based approach, specialized commodity based approach. And both of these approaches are covered when the farmers are given one crop, one district program. That each district can focus on one crop, and then all logistical requirements, marketing requirements, sale requirements can be covered under this one crop, one district programs. Till January 2022, we have approximately 1963 FPOs, and the government targets to make them 10,000 by 2027-28. Till January 2022, there are 1,963 FPOs. Again, you keep approximately 2,000 in your mind. That already we have 2,000 FPOs that have been established all over India, and government is targeting to make them around 10,000 by 2027-28. And then the economic survey gives another important information with respect to increasing agricultural income, promoting marketing support, that is developing of sweet revolution. Remember the name, sweet revolution is related to beekeeping, शहद production, उससे related है, शहद बनाने से, beekeeping. That is what relates to sweet revolution, honey production in the system. And the government says that this beekeeping will be a part of integrated farming system. This beekeeping will be a part of integrated farming system through which farmers can be given an alternative source of income. And the government has already approved 500 crore rupees for National Beekeeping and Honey Mission. That is called NBHM, National Beekeeping and Honey Mission. 500 crore rupees for National Beekeeping and Honey Mission. National Beekeeping and Honey Mission, for which government has already approved this money. And this money will be spent from 2020-21 to 2022-23. 3 सालों का टारगेट लिया गया है. 3 साल में 500 करोड़ रुपए खर्च किए जाएंगे नेशनल बी एंड हनी कीपिंग मिशन पे, जिसका एम है कि ओवरऑल प्रमोशन एंड डेवलपमेंट ऑफ साइंटिफिक बी कीपिंग. That is the aim of this National Beekeeping and Honey Mission. That aim is overall promotion of honey production, overall promotion of honey production and scientific beekeeping. Overall promotion of honey production and scientific beekeeping. That is the main idea of this mission. Remember, beekeeping will not only increase farmers' income, alternatively, it is also good for pollination of crops and contribute very well to productivity of crop production. Also, India can explore exporting honey to the outside world, and government has already approved 45 projects with an 88 crore budget under this national beekeeping and honey mission. So 45 projects with 88 crore rupees is already approved by the government. So these are some important things. Again, if there is a small 150 word question just on beekeeping, you should have some basic idea on that. So remember, and then it is not, beekeeping doesn't only help in creating honey, but also bee wax, which is very useful for industry, also bee pollen, also for royal jelly. So there are various byproducts which can be created through beekeeping. Kindly keep these names in mind. They will help you write a solid and well-informed answer with some concrete language when you write your answer in the mains exam. In prelims, by chance if they ask you something related to beekeeping, NBHM now you know, projects approved you know, the government budget you know, and the benefits etc. you know. So this is the way you should approach your prelims exam preparation also. Then, there is Prayojan. Sahi hai, Vikas? Central sector scheme. Yes, Shubham. This NBHM is a central sector scheme. All right. Now I take you further. There is small discussion on situation assessment survey that the government conducts from time to time. So there is a talk on situation assessment survey, SAS, and they make a comparison between situation assessment survey of 2014 and situation assessment survey of 2019-20. So they make a 19. So every 5 years we do this situation assessment survey, and they say that NSSO 2019, that is one part of the situation assessment survey, and that in agricultural households, and another is the comparison released to the last SAS in 2014. So report released 2021 and last situation assessment survey was in 2014. There are 2-3 important things from here which you should know. One of them is that according to the comparison, it shows that if we take per capita income, per capita income of farmers, so we take SAS 2014 and SAS 2021. मैं एक टेबल बना रहा हूँ, आपको हेल्प करेगा वो याद रखने में. Per capita income of farmers. So in SAS 2014, it was said that per capita income of farmers was rupees 6426, which has now become rupees 10,218. So the per capita income of farmers in nominal terms has increased significantly, even though there are distinct interstate variations. So interstate variations are there, but overall the increase has been significant. Also, it says that this, as a source of income, animal husbandry, that is, second thing is animal husbandry, or animal husbandry's share is continuously increasing as a source of income for farmers. Continuously increasing as a source of income for farmers. Third is that farming is the most dominant source of income. Among all agricultural households, the most dominant source of income is farming. So that is the third thing to keep in mind, that the most dominant source of income is farming for all agricultural households. One worrying trend is continuously decreasing size of land ownership. In India, the size of land ownership has been continuously declining, suggesting fragmentation of land. the average size of land holding, which was 0.59 hectares in 2019, has come down to 0.51 hectares by 2013 to 0.51 hectares by 2019. So remember, that is another worrying trend that we see in this, that continuously declining average land size and increase in continuously declining average land size and increase in the number of small and marginal farmers. And that is for policy implication, that now we need to make sure that there are special policies for making small land holdings viable. That is what economic survey says, कि इस finding का मतलब है कि अब ये तरीके पता करो जिससे कि small land holdings viable हो, making small land holdings viable, and to make sure that how agricultural income can be increased by assuring that we are also increasing, agricultural income to be increased by assuring that we are also increasing income from animal husbandry, etc. That is the aspect. The difference in two approaches here, difference in two approaches here is very simple. In the first approach of FPOs, the idea is to make them focus on a particular type of commodity, second approach rather, and first is that make a cluster of farmers who can come together and produce the commodity. So second approach can be done individually for marketing purpose, and the first is about developing a cluster where several farmers can come together. Now, so these are some important events from here that you should keep in mind. Then remember, there is one talk on page 250 that they do, a very small talk, but that is important, with respect to natural farming, and they say that this natural farming is promoted through Bharatiya Prakratik Krishi Paddhati program. That is important to keep in mind. That is on page 250 on natural farming. Now in this natural farming part, if you ask me, I find only one thing important. That is when they talk about natural farming promoted, the promotion of natural farming promoted through Bharatiya Paramparagat. So this is our Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana that they bring across, but Prakritik Krishi Paddhati program, Bharatiya Prakritik Krishi Paddhati program. They call it BPKP, and they say that this BPKP is to promote natural methods or natural techniques of agricultural production so that we can make sure that there is good enough production in India. That is through natural farming, irrespective of chemical fertilizers. So they say that the idea is to minimize the use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides and remove them from Indian farming system so that there is better quality cropping. And this is not organic farming, mind you. This is about natural farming, different from only organic farming. So it says on-farm biomass recycling. It promotes on-farm biomass recycling. That is the cow dung and the crop residue that can be used for developing more productivity of soil. So on-farm biomass recycling, and the stress will be on biomass mulching. Stress on biomass mulching. Mulching होता है कि जो क्रॉप आपने पूरी फसल नहीं काटी, उस फसल को थोड़ा छोड़ दिया अपनी ज़मीन पर और धीरे धीरे वो आपकी ज़मीन से मिक्स हो गया और उसको ऑर्गेनिक मैन्योर दे दिया. ये मल्चिंग होता है. दैट जो फसल आपने काटी, जो उसका रिमेन रह गया, उसे फैला दिया ज़मीन पे और धीरे धीरे वो ज़मीन में अब्जॉर्ब हो गया और उसके ऑर्गेनिक मैन्योर्स उस ज़मीन में मिलकर उसकी खेती की पैदावार करने की, उपज करने की क्षमता को और बढ़ा देते हैं. सो व्हाट वी डू इज अंडर मल्चिंग, वट एवर क्रॉप्स वी हैव कट, वी स्प्रेड इट ओवर ऑन द फील्ड and gradually it gets absorbed in the soil and increases the organic component of the soil. So that is one. Then another thing it brings is use of on-farm cow dung and urine formulation. That is the other thing. Use of on-farm cow dung and urine formulation to again increase the organic component while doing cultivation. So on-farm cow dung and urine formulation. So to again increase the organic component in the picture. The other thing that it does, the other thing that it focuses upon is periodic soil aeration and exclusion of all chemical inputs. So that is the third thing. It will focus on periodic soil aeration. Soil को ये मौका मिले कि वो अपनी cultivation, अपनी productivity वापस ला सके. Soil aeration is letting the soil have enough time, have enough cultivation methods by which the soil remains aerated. It doesn't get completely deposited with all the minerals, etc., and loses its capacity to absorb the natural nutrients from the atmosphere. So soil aeration for that, and complete removal of chemical inputs. Please keep this in mind. Somehow I feel that in near future you will be meeting this whole idea of BPKP, भारतीय प्राकृतिक कृषि पद्धति प्रोग्राम. क्योंकि जनरली मैंने देखा है कि जब इकोनॉमिक सर्वे में वो कुछ पूछते हैं तो 1 या 2 साल के बाद यूपीएससी जागती है. When they ask you something in survey, after a couple of years there is suddenly a question that UPSC asks you. This is a possible one among those type of questions. Okay, now that is the important thing on page 250. Then they give us information on animal husbandry and dairying. If you ask me, the facts over there are not very important. The only important thing is on page 253, when they talk about the initiatives in animal husbandry and dairy farming, and mainly mention 2 things: National Animal Disease Control Program and Agricultural Infrastructure, Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund. These are the 2 things, if you ask me, which are important on page 252 when they give us the idea. So I'll quickly just bring you into that. So when we talk about steps taken to promote animal husbandry, again remember, if they ask you a question on animal husbandry, these 2 steps will mean a lot, that if you can quote them. So one, of course, is National Animal Disease Control Program. This was announced in the budget of 2020-21, mainly targeting the foot and mouth disease. In fact, the government had run the program quite successfully, but unfortunately it was affected by the COVID pandemic. So government had to pull back on the vaccination against foot and mouth disease. So the vaccination started from 31st January 2020. The target was removal of foot and mouth disease through vaccination. And the program started from 31st January 2020 and continued for a couple of months. Then COVID put a break on it. Again it was revitalized, and it started again in 21-22. The second phase of vaccination commenced, and they say that up to 5 crore animals now, the economic survey says, up to 5 crore animals now are vaccinated against foot and mouth disease. Now that is again a good achievement. 5 crore animals, because foot and mouth disease was one of the most deleterious disease that our animals were facing. So 5 crore animals have been vaccinated against foot and mouth disease, and 27.8 lakh animals have been vaccinated against brucellosis. So these are the disease against which vaccination drive is going on. It increases the productivity of cattle. It will also increase the living standard for the rural systems. Also, it will allow farmers to nurture cattle for a longer period of time by keeping them useful for a longer period of time. Also remember, within this, when we look at the system, another is Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund, which was announced in the budget of 2020-21. Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Fund announced in the budget of 2021 with 15,000 crore rupees given for animal husbandry infrastructure development. 3% interest subvention will be given in this, and up to 2 crore rupees loan will be sanctioned for any project related to animal husbandry infrastructure development here. So in that case, whether it is for dairying, whether it is for meat processing, whether it is for farmer producer organization, whether any micro, small, medium enterprise, all of them will be eligible, and the central government will provide, I repeat, 3% interest subvention to the borrower, and the central government will also give a credit guarantee up to 25% of the total borrowings. I repeat, 3% interest subvention and credit guarantee up to 25% of total borrowing, so that no collateral will be needed up to that. So these are all positive steps about doubling farmers income. अगर by chance तुम कोई आंसर लिख रहे हो doubling farmers income पे, वहाँ again ये बातें important हो जाती हैं, और जो पीछे मैं कर रहा था वो भी. Again, another thing they talk about is fisheries, and in fisheries there are 2-3 things that the government has done. One is most important, the Matsya Sampada Yojana, under which again, so just to take this story further, so apart from animal husbandry, the other place where the government has targeted production is fisheries. And you know, the benefit of fisheries, if you ask me, this is one of the fastest growing sectors in India. Fisheries, it is growing at 10% plus rate for 10 years now. पिछले 10 सालों से फिशरी का जो ग्रोथ रेट है वो 10% के ऊपर है on an average, and that's a huge achievement that we have had. Now in this case the government and the economic survey says that it provides employment to 28 million people, 2.8 crore people directly employed under fisheries. So it says that the government has taken initiatives, and in that the first thing they say is credit needs of the farmers. So one is Kisan credit card extended to fisheries. पहले फिशरमैन को ये नहीं मिलता था, अब ये फिशरीज को भी एक्सटेंडेड है, और इनकी क्रेडिट लिमिट अप टू ₹2 लाख है. नॉर्मल किसान क्रेडिट कार्ड की क्रेडिट लिमिट 3 लाख होती है, इनकी क्रेडिट लिमिट जो है वो 2 लाख है. ऑलराइट, फॉर फिशरीज द क्रेडिट लिमिट इज 2 lakhs. Please keep these points in mind. In prelims they try trapping us on that only. ये बातें याद रखो, prelims में इसी पे फंसाते हैं हमें कि हमें पता है या नहीं. So in fishery the credit limit is 2 lakh, otherwise the credit limit is 3 lakhs on Kisan credit card. The second thing is Matsya Sampada Yojana. Matsya Sampada Yojana, under which interest subvention is given, investment subsidy is given. So Matsya Sampada Yojana is another important thing that has been introduced by the government. It's called Prime Minister's Matsya Sampada Yojana. And again, this is something that has brought some large change. It was announced under the Atmanirbhar Bharat program and has been launched from May 2020. Please keep that in mind, that it has been launched from May 2020. The idea is to modernize the value chain of fisheries, strengthen the value chain, create cold storage facilities, create the possibility of grading of fishery system, create a regulatory framework, develop management techniques for the fishermen. So all that will help in increasing their productivity and also to improve fishery exports from India. So all that is covered under Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. And already schemes worth more than 5,000 crore have been approved by the government for creation of structure under Matsya Sampada Yojana. Schemes worth more than 5,000 crore have been approved by the government for creation of Matsya Sampada Yojana. Then, you know, they talk about agricultural research and education. Again, my suggestion is you don't have to do it because there is nothing relevant in that. Then they also talk about food processing sector, but there is nothing new in that. In food processing sector, they again stick to the same things. They say that food processing contributes, the importance of food processing, they tell us that food processing has its own relevance in India, and food processing contributes to, has a growth rate of 11% overall in the development of India, and food processing also constitutes 9.8% of total manufacturing value added in India in 1920. So these information they give us, but I don't think they are very important from your exams point of view, so you can easily skip that. Two schemes that they tell us, we are very clear on them already. That is Prime Minister formalization of micro food processing enterprises, Kisan Sampada Yojana, and top scheme. These are the three things they talk about promotion of food processing and promotion of or development of farmers' income. So in food processing, you can take it as this. There are few relevance that they suggest of food processing. Like they say that 19 lakh workers are there in formal food processing enterprise. I'll keep calling it food processing enterprise, FPI. And 51 lakh workers are there in the informal food processing system. These 51 lakh workers comprise almost 14% of total informal workforce in India involved in food processing. Again, in mains, you can use this information to tell your examiner, look how well read I am. I've been able to give you some concerns, on these. Then, so that is one factor. Then also remember, a periodic soil aeration, Anirudh, is allowing the soil to have enough capacity to be able to get absorbed, enough capacity to absorb the atmospheric contents that can allow it to have higher production methods. Now, within that, they say that in food processing, also they say that around 12.38%, of the major employment intensive sector they have, and 9.8% of industrial value added is from food processing. And then the survey mentions that there are three main schemes to promote food processing industries, three main schemes. And they say one of them, out of these three main schemes, one of them is Prime Minister formalization of micro food processing enterprises. Prime Minister formalization of micro food processing enterprises. That is one thing that they mention. Prime Minister's formalization of micro food processing enterprises. Prime Minister's formalization of micro food processing enterprises. So this is one thing that they mention, and they say that this is a centrally sponsored scheme with 10,000 crore rupees given till 2020-25. So remember, this is a centrally sponsored scheme with 10,000 crore rupees given till the year 2024-25. 10,000 crore rupees until the year 2024-25. So this is one thing that they tell us on PM formalization. They also say that it is spread over 137 unique products and 710 districts in one district, one product status. So 75 proposals are already in incubation, and the ministry is targeting to promote it as much as possible. Then of course they mention Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana, and then they mention about top scheme. Now I am just saying they mention because these are schemes which have been there in India for some time. So I'm sure with any agricultural background or any reading on agriculture, you would be knowing about it. If you have been with me at the Next IAS, in any case, we have covered these in some detail with respect to how these schemes work. Nothing new has been there in economic survey on these schemes. So in that case, even the data that they are giving is mostly up to 2021. So there is nothing much that they give us in that. Similarly, on food management, there is nothing much that they give us. So you can easily skip page 258 onwards, nothing in the chapter after that. The ethanol blended petrol program, I've already told you about that while teaching you sugarcane. That is the only important thing on page 261. But otherwise, nothing important after page 258 in this, because on food management, when they say procurement of food grains, allocation of food grains, fortification of rice, open market sales scheme, one nation, one ration card. Now these are all schemes, okay, from पॉइंट याद रखना है अगर एग्जाम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से तो इनको पॉइंट्स बना सकते हो, लेकिन अगर इंफॉर्मेशन ढूंढने जाएं तो यहाँ कुछ नया नहीं मिलता हमें. If we try finding an information, we don't find anything new in this, so we can safely skip these, only remembering that these are the ways in which food management is done in India. And similarly, when it comes to storage, fertilizers, they give us a lot of data, but nothing important from civil services point of view. So these are the things which were important that I told you from prelims plus mains perspective. Mainly in prelims, go for the factuals. In mains, you can go for the points that are there and remember them. Now, so I will stop here today. Tomorrow when I will meet you, not tomorrow, sorry, on Friday when I will meet you, I will do industries with you. And then I will meet you for 2 more sessions, hopefully on Tuesday and Wednesday, the coming week, and we will finish up on economic survey. So on Friday, I meet you next. I will be meeting you next on Friday for a topic on industry and infrastructure. That session might be a little longer because there they discuss several things. So industry and infrastructure on Friday, and then we will cover up on services and social sector on Tuesday, and then environment on Wednesday. So hopefully this will cover us all entirely on all the topics that are required. Thank you, and thank you for continuously asking me to do these sessions because I actually enjoy being with all of you. In case of any doubts, please feel free to connect. I'm willing to solve them. Thank you. Have a great evening. Bye-bye. Thank you, Jia. You should remember the revised estimates, Chaitanya. Thank you, Ritik. Thank you, Arshia. So thank you, all of you. I'm signing off from here, and I'll meet you on Friday. Again, I'll let you know the time, hopefully again in evening, and we'll go from here. Thank you. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.